Hey, you clicked on my video. Appreciate it. Now be sure to like the video and subscribe to the page. Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Outta My League. I'm Nick Diaz. Life has moved pretty damn fast, hasn't it? If I would have told you back in 2012 that the Notre Dame head coach and the USC head coach would be facing off a decade later in the LSU Ole Miss rivalry, you probably would have said, Nick, what the hell are you smoking? And where can I get some? That Notre Dame USC rivalry and the Ole Miss LSU rivalry are two damn worlds apart. But yet, here we are. I love it. Now, for those of you wondering, Brian Kelly was 2-1 in those 3 years against Lane Kiffin. Now, that record means fuck all on Saturday's matchup, but it's just a nice little stat to throw out there. But it got me thinking, which team has the better coaching matchup in this game? Now, some of you may say, well, Brian Kelly, he's never been fired. He's the winningest active coach currently in college football. He's won more and everywhere. Lane Kiffin hasn't. Some of you might say that. Actually, most of you would say that because all of you are LSU fans. But the logic remains sound even if you're a homer. But why others may say Kiffin is because, well, he's the best offensive head coach in college football. Shit, he's the best offensive play caller, period, in college football. And in today's college football, in the modern college football, that matters maybe a little bit more than it ever has before. And Brian Kelly explains why Kiffin is just so good at being that.
Offensively, there's always an answer to what you do in-game as well. But I think more importantly, they scout you out. I mean, you better know your own self-scouting and where your tendencies are, because he's going to really dial in on if there's anything that you do. If you do anything defensively, he is going to analyze that and have an answer for it.
Now, what could that be? What could that be? Now, Kiffin will do anything and everything to find your weakness on the defense. Run or pass. He just wants to score. He just wants to score. Kiffin ran for 448 yards against Auburn last week, and the week before that, Kiffin's wide receiver broke the school record for receiving yards in a game against Vandy. Run or pass, he just wants to score. Doesn't matter how he does it. And he will find LSU's weakness on Saturday. It's just a matter of LSU making plays and giving the LSU offense enough possessions to win the game. So, what will Kiffin scheme up against LSU's defense? Well, I can't be sure, obviously, but I imagine he's going to test the outside run defense of LSU, which has been a problem all season long. And matter of fact, the biggest designed run play that Florida had against LSU was the Montrell Johnson pitch to the outside for a touchdown. That was the biggest designed run play for Florida. And I will contend, however, that LSU did do a good job of stopping the run against Florida, because if you take out that freakish Superman-like 81-yard scramble that Anthony Richardson had, LSU only allowed 129 yards rushing against a very good Florida offensive line and very good Florida run game. So it is possible to slow down this Ole Miss run game. Maybe not stop it, but slow it down. But Kiffin is a better play caller than Billy Napier. Nothing against Billy. I like him, but Kiffin's just better. And he will find more creative ways to run the ball on that LSU defense. But the second thing Kiffin will do, and y'all are going to hate this, Harold Perkins will probably get out-schemed of the game. Look, I said back on Monday that this game would not be an issue for him, and that was a stupid thing for me to say. Kiffin will scheme Harold Perkins out of the game just like Tennessee did. I can just hear the blood boiling from all of you listening right now. How the fuck does that happen? Because I guarantee you, Kiffin watched that Tennessee film. He heard Brian Kelly explain why Harold Perkins couldn't play outside linebacker against Tennessee, and he will do the exact same thing because he knows Harold Perkins will have to go up against those wide receivers, and Harold Perkins as a freshman linebacker can't do that. But here is an interesting stat for some of you LSU fans. This was something I saw on Twitter earlier today. There was a stat out there from SEC StatCat Clark Brook saying that Harold Perkins leads the SEC in stop rate. Oh, that's awesome. Now, what the hell is stop rate? Well, stop rate is essentially the percentage of carries by a running back that are stopped at or before the line of scrimmage. Basically, you stuff the runner. How many times do you stuff the running back? Well, Harold Perkins leads the SEC in the percentages of times that he's on the field and does that during run plays. See, Nick, play him more. What the hell? It's the coaches that should be doing more. All right, but I explained this already. Here's the problem with that stat specifically. It's a good stat, but there's a problem with it. Perkins is only good at really one or two things right now as a true freshman. Quarterback spy and probably, pass rush, see ball, hit ball from the outside linebacker spot. That's his thing. See ball, hit ball. Very simple. And all this stop rate stat shows you is that one thing that he's great at as a true freshman. What that stat does not show you is his weaknesses, which is that he can't really do much of anything else right now that's asked of a complex SEC defense. Now, if you want to play Harold Perkins at middle linebacker, sure, go ahead. The problem is that middle linebacker requires great eye discipline and reading formations pre-snap. Two things that Matt House and Brian Kelly said back during August camp that Harold Perkins just cannot do right now. Harold Perkins' high school coaches have even said the same thing. Okay, well, Harold Perkins is good at rushing the passer, so play him at that jack linebacker spot that B.J. Ojulari plays. Okay, that's an even worse idea. One, because it takes B.J. Ojulari off of his natural position. Dumb. But two, and more importantly, it puts Perkins on an SEC offensive tackle that probably outweighs him by over 100 pounds. Also really dumb. So Kiffin would just see that and be like, yeah, we're just going to run the ball to Perkins' side of the field every damn play. He would wear him out for 4 quarters. I don't care how talented Perkins is. It's physics at play. 100 pounds. That's kind of a lot. So, what can Brian Kelly and House do? I don't know. They get paid big bucks. I'm just out of my league. But I will say this. I guarantee you that they have exhausted ideas to put Perkins on the field more and more. It's just not that simple to do. My best guess would be, and this is me guessing, play Perkins as a quarterback spy on Jackson Dart the majority of the plays. Now that sounds simple, and maybe it is, but I'm sure there are some double-edged swords to that idea that I'm probably missing as to why that can't work the majority of the plays. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. So, I think LSU's defense can slow down Ole Miss. I do. I think they can. But that may be without Harold Perkins on the field as much as you want him to be. Fair warning to all. I've warned you in advance. But here's the thing. I know I just depressed you a little bit, but here's the thing that Kelly has over Kiffin that we don't talk enough about. Patience. It's his patience. See, I remember when Kiffin left Alabama to go to FAU and then got the Ole Miss job, and he did all these interviews like, well, what did you learn from Nick Saban? What did you learn from Nick Saban? And Kiffin, one of his first responses said, I realized I was in too much of a hurry. I needed to slow down. Needed to have more patience. Need to have more patience with my coaches. Need to have more patience with my players. Need to have more patience with myself. Now, Kiffin has gotten better at that. I assume he has. But I'll say this. Brian Kelly has mastered the head coach's patience 100 times over at this point in his career. He has mastered it over and over and over and over again. And he has proven that at LSU. He's been hiring coordinators. What's taken so long? Patience. Recruiting class commitments. Naming a starting quarterback. Not benching your starting quarterback. Patience, Grasshopper. Patience. It will all come together soon. Because as high scoring as this year's Ole Miss offense has been, like previous years under Kiffin, there's one big flaw. One big flaw. They start off fast, but they slow down later in the game. Later in the game, they go on these long droughts where they get outscored by a lot. Damn near every single game they have played. Troy, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Kentucky, Tulsa, multiple quarters where they're up so much, so quickly, but then their offense just falls off of a cliff. Now, LSU has started slow. They're kind of the opposite, but they have always finished fast. Always. Brian Kelly always seems to be patient in those moments. There doesn't seem to be a lot of panic until later in the game. That's a sign of a great coach. A sign of a great coach is a team that gets better as the season goes on. We can all agree on that, right? If your players are getting better, the longer you're coaching them, usually a sign you're doing a good job. And usually a sign of great coaching is that a team gets better as the game goes on. It means that coach is making adjustments and not getting out-adjusted after halftime. We'll see whose identity wins on Saturday. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in the description link below.